What's up, y'all? We're back, episode 2, in the chair with Barber Chris, talking about some things been going on in the shop, some conversations we've been having. So first, the XFL. I don't know how many people out there are watching that, but I've been watching it fairly regularly, and that shit is dope, man. I like it. I love it, actually. I would love to see the NFL, that type of talent play by those rules. There's so many rules in that league that would be so beneficial to the NFL. It's basically, I feel like Vince McMahon, he sat around and listened to the fans bitch for 5-6 years about the NFL and took everything out of it that the NFL fans were bitching about. Took all that out of football, made a league. It's dope. And some of the things I like. So, the one thing I like that I think the NFL could try to implement would be so XFL has a 25-second play clock. So there's always action. And the cool thing is that the offensive coordinator sends the plays in and it goes into everybody in the offense's helmet rather than just the quarterback, so they don't need to huddle. It doesn't go to the offensive line, so they still have to call some cadences and things like that. But it's just action, action, action. And during the first week, the Dallas team, Troy Aikman was there because Daryl Johnson's like the manager of that team or something. And they're interviewing him on the sideline. And that's the one thing that he really liked too. And he really liked to see the NFL do something like that. And it's like, no, how come we're not doing that? It's what he said. It's freaking 2020. So that is something I think the NFL will probably look at. The kickoffs are pretty dope. I think the NFL could probably try to do something like that where the players are lined up on the other side of the field 5 yards apart and they can't move until the receiver catches the ball. So you're still and okay, so here's the thing. If you kick it into the end zone or out of bounds, it's a penalty and they get it on the 45. So you're still you're forcing a kickoff. You have to have a return, but you're doing it the safest way possible. So that's pretty slick too. The same with the punts. If you punt it out of bounds, you get it on the 45. So you see a lot of teams going for it on fourth down, which is pretty cool. Just football. They do the interviews right on the sidelines or after plays. Definitely don't see the NFL doing that. But that's cool though. You get to hear their thoughts right after plays. What else do they do? They do the 1, 2, and 3 point extra points where they don't kick extra points. You just go for it. You run a play, and depending on which how many points you want to go for, you start from. I think it's the 1, 3, or the 5 yard line. I think I don't see the NFL doing that. I'll stick with the extra points. I'm sure. I've watched pretty much at least one game every week. And I think they're 5 weeks in. I've never once have we had a controversy on was it a catch or not. So you only need 1 foot. And here's the big one. So the reviews. And I've been saying this for 5 years. This is how you should do reviews. NFL, NCAA, everything. So you got a camera up in the booth. You got a guy up in the booth. That's his job. He does the replays. So if something happens on the field, this dude buzzes down to the official. The official down there that stops the play says we're looking at this, and then that's it. He doesn't do nothing. So then you got this dude up in the box, watching on the TV, and then you're watching him on your TV, and he's rewinding it, looking at it, and and you can hear him communicating with the head ref too. So he's talking him through what he's seeing, and then he'll call and say, okay, so that was a fumble. It's other team's ball on the 10. Here's your time. Run it. It takes a minute, dude. So simple, so easy. I don't know why it can't be that easy, why it hasn't already been that easy. I mean, we already know. We're seeing the same things they're seeing. We already know what the call should be after 30 seconds. So I don't understand why it takes so long. You got to have in the NFL, you got to have the refs got to run over 30 fucking yards to get on his little iPad and then look at it. And then they got to talk and he's got to go under the hood and all this. And it takes forever. And it's dude, it's so simple. Why does it got to be that complicated? But the thing is I feel like Roger Goodell is such a egotistical maniac. He can't admit that somebody else does something better than him or the NFL. It's just like with the overtime rule. Like, why that college football's overtime rule is the most exciting overtime there is, except for probably a shootout in hockey. That's like the best. It's the fairest way. It's the most exciting way. Each team gets the ball. You get your chance to score. You got to know if you got to score, then you got to start going for two after like 3 overtimes. So exciting. But NFL's like, no, what we're going to do is, so if you score on the first time, then you win. If the defense scores on the first time, they win. But you got to score a touchdown. But so if you get a field goal, then the other team can try. Like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, it reminds me of that episode of The Office when they're doing the big garage sale in the warehouse, and then Kevin's got that game, the game of life, but then there's like other pieces to another game in there, and him and Daryl and Andy are playing it, and then they're like, these aren't even the right cards, and he's, it doesn't matter, we'll just play. And then so they're just playing different cards, and Kevin's like, that's not how you play the game. Like, it's in the box. Like, that reminds me of what the NFL's overtime rule is. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. Different rules. This is what you do. That's the NFL in general. Nobody knows what the fuck's happening. That's the NFL for you. We got free agency coming up. That'll be interesting. People asking me where I think Tommy's going to go. I definitely don't. I don't think he's going back to New England. I think from what I'm hearing, I watch a lot of Dan Patrick. He's got a lot of insiders on there, and it just sounds like Tom and Belichick have just kind of dealt with each other for the last 20 years, because they're winning. But at this point, Tom's like, nah, I'm done dealing with you, man. Unless one dude said, I think it was Florio, said that Belichick's going to have to get down on his knees and kiss Tom's ass to get him to come back. So I don't see that happening. Somebody had mentioned Tennessee. I guess that's kind of a name that's floating around. And when they first said that, I'm like, I don't know about Tennessee. But then the more I thought about it, Vrabel's their coach. Him and Tom are boys. He learned from Belichick. He's a good coach, obviously. We saw that in the playoffs. They got a great offensive line. You got probably the best running back in the league, and you got a great defense. So that actually does make a lot of sense. So at that point, Tom being 42, you bring Tom in and you say, look, dude, all you got to do is hand the ball off like 30, 35 times a game and just be Tom when we need you to be Tom. That sounds like a perfect scenario for Tom Brady right now. And you think about it. When Kansas City finally figured out how to play defense the last 2 games of the season last year, it was if you shut down Derrick Henry, then it's like make Tannehill beat you. Okay, we'll roll the dice on that. But now you got, do you want Derrick Henry to beat you or do you want Tom Brady to beat you? I feel like that makes Tennessee a pretty scary team. Tampa Bay's been thrown around. I don't know about that. Vegas, they're going to push hard. I don't know about that. Derek Carr said, we do need a backup. That was pretty funny. But I think I would love to see Tom go to an NFC team, and then you got the storyline of Tom versus Bill in the Super Bowl. I think that'd be pretty dope. But wherever he goes, that's going to automatically become my favorite team. So I'm saying it now. Don't call me a bandwagon dude next year. Plus, I was a Niners fan for a long time, so don't call me bandwagon on that Super Bowl appearance either. But moving on from that, a lot of talk about the UFC in Houston. People asking me my thoughts on that, on Jon Jones, and on the judges. First off, on the judges. A lot of people don't understand this. And they keep saying to me, how come the UFC doesn't do something about the judges? Well, the UFC doesn't appoint the judges. Each state's commission appoints the judges. And a lot of times what you get are boxing judges trying to judge MMA fights. And they just really don't know what they're doing. So, and that Dominic Cruz and Joe Rogan spoke a lot about this after the fights. And I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. I'm a really, really big Joe Rogan fan. And I'm probably going to get a lot of people talking about, you just try to sound like Joe Rogan. I'm not, but he does influence me a lot. So I can see where people say that. But they were talking about how, Dominic was saying, basically what he was saying was that the commissions try to just stay their own separate entity and don't want to like cooperate with the UFC. So there needs to be some sort of a bridge there where the UFC can work with these judges to kind of train them on how to score an MMA fight. I mean, that sounds good in theory, but it doesn't seem like the commissions are going to do. And then you're talking about going to all these different states, and just the logistics of that seem kind of difficult. And two, you got, like Joe Rogan was saying, there's not really, like, different people score different things different ways. So how much is a takedown really worth? You know, some judges say it's worth a lot. Some judges say it's not worth really anything. What is a takedown? If you take somebody down, but then they immediately get right back up, is that a takedown or not? Like, I think you should, so that should just be, that should be a push. So you take somebody down, they get right back up. You want to give the guy a point for the takedown, well, you got to give a guy a point for getting right back up. You take somebody down and you lay there for 10, 15 seconds and don't do anything, then that shouldn't be worth that much. But I feel like just because somebody gets taken down, a lot of judges just put so much weight on the fact, well, they took him down. But if you're not doing anything, it's the same thing as if you were standing in the center of the octagon, covering your face, not doing anything. Like you're still, either if you're on your feet or you're on the ground on top of somebody, you're not doing anything, you're still not doing anything. So there's just a lot of weirdness, the way it's scored. And then you got the different states and the different commissions, and these ones do go by these rules. These ones don't go by the new rules. These ones have the unified rules. You know, there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be worked on there. But here's the thing. And everybody says the judges this, the judges that. And then people ask Dana White about the judges, and he'll bitch about the judges. But this is what he always says, and this is really what it boils down to. Don't let it go to the judges. And that's what Dana's always going to say, and that's what every fighter should be thinking. If you already know that the judges are weird, then don't let it go to them. You know, you got to go in there and you got to fight. So I know that they've been tossing around the idea of, and I think this is more just casual fans tossing around the idea of, well, why don't you have like former fighters be judges? And I just don't see that sounds good, because they obviously would know what the hell they're looking at, but I don't see how you have too much. There would be so say on every card you got probably 13 fights a card, 12 to 13, I think. You got 3 on the prelims, 4 or 5 on the prelims, and then 4 or 5 on the main card. So probably, yeah. So you're talking about like probably 24 to 26 fighters on each card. So now you're going to have to go through it, and you're going to have to do like background checks on all of these judges, these 3 judges in each state for each fight, each week, to see if they've had any sort of contact, trained with, sparred with, been under the same management with these 24 to 26 fighters on every card. And I just don't know. Honestly, I don't know if you're ever going to find anybody that hasn't had any contact with anybody at some point in that, because these guys have been doing this forever, for years. Like I got a dude that comes in the shop here, Little Mount Pleasant, Michigan. He was really big on the regional circuit. He was a champion and whatever. He owned a gym up here, was a trainer. Well, Miles Jury and Darren Croshank would come up from Detroit to train with them. So even if you picked a guy like this guy that's been around, he's been a champion on a smaller circuit, never made it to the big leagues, but obviously knows his shit. Even if you found somebody like that to judge, say he's judging a Miles Jury fight, and then he scores it close for a Jury in a close fight, Jury wins, and then they go back and they say, well, you know what, in 2009, Miles Jury went up from Detroit to Mount Pleasant to train with this dude. They're buddies. You know, I just feel like that would be really hard to pull that off, because that community, everybody's intertwined in that community. So people are changing gyms all the time, changing coaches. I don't know. I think it'd be hard. I'm thinking maybe you could find maybe like retired refs, maybe, or commentators. I don't know. Fuck, you could get regular people like me and my buddies, dude. I mean, we know more than fucking Stephen A. Smith and them fucking retards, but But Jon Jones, though, I don't know if it's... That's what I'm telling people. To me, it looks like Jon, he's fighting at the level of his competition. Now, I don't know if that's because the level of the competition is starting to catch up to Jon, because his bar was so high. But we see this with everybody. Everybody that sets a bar, Ronda Rousey set a bar, and these girls climbed up to that bar, and they're fucking miles past it now. I mean, that Amanda Nunes is bad to the bone. Valentina Shevchenko is bad to the bone. Yolana, Wang, these chicks are on a whole nother level than Ronda was 5-6 years ago when she set that bar and she was dominating everybody. But that's what happens is somebody comes along, they set the bar, and then all the young up-and-comers, they realize that's the bar I got to get to. That's why, back in the day, it was you could be good at one thing. You could be a wrestler. I mean, that's how it started. Wrestler versus a boxer, who would win? Jiu-jitsu guy versus a boxer, who would win? Wrestler versus a taekwondo guy, who would win? But now it's mixed martial arts. You have to be good at everything. Ronda came along. She was really good at judo. She's tough. She could break your arm off, but she couldn't stand up. And like Amanda Nunes or Holly Holm proved it. They rose up. They're complete fighters now. So I don't know if these same things happening here with Jon, but he was so far above everybody. I mean, you're talking about a guy that dominated. I don't know if these stats are completely correct, but I bet you it's pretty close. I think his first 5 title defenses were against people that are in the Hall of Fame now, and he dominated them. And now he's in these razor close fights with guys that you kind of never heard of. So I don't know if it's that they're rising up to that level, or that Jon is lowering himself to their level. And to me, it looks like Jon's lowering himself. And I don't know why. It's like I feel like he wants to go in there and prove that he can beat people at their game. So this is what you're good at. I'm going to beat you at that. And it's like, why do you do that? Why don't you just go in there and be Jon Jones? He's not electrifying. He's not like entertaining like he used to be. Like you never knew what to expect, and now it's pretty vanilla when he's in there. And he's got that mentality of I'm the champion, you got to beat me. Well, somebody's gonna beat you, dude. And I just don't know why you don't go in there and be Jon Jones, because when Jon Jones is Jon Jones, you're the best, and nobody in the world can touch you. So he's going to get beat, though. He keeps fighting like that. He's going to get beat. And I've been telling everybody in the shop, his next few fights, I am putting money on whoever he is fighting, because Jon is always a huge favorite, and he's going to get beat. If he keeps fighting like that, he's going to get beat. And if he thinks he's going to go to heavyweight and fight Stipe like that, he's got another thing coming, because he's really going to get beat. He's going to get beat bad. But it happens. You get these people that dominate divisions for so long, there's always somebody up and coming, man, And when him and Israel were going back and forth, and Israel was still kind of an up and comer, I'm thinking, man, this dude, you're good, boy, but you ain't got nothing on Jon Jones. When I'm thinking, dude, he might beat Jon Jones. I don't know. I would just love to see Jon come out and just finish somebody, man. I can't remember the last time he finished somebody. I think it was probably Gustafsson. I think the last time he actually finished somebody. But that Jones Gustafsson first fight, though, one of the best fights ever. I'll tell you that. I love Jon. Also, sounds like I'm ragging on him, but I love Jon. I think he's the GOAT. I love him. Been watching him since probably, 2005 or something. He's been on for a long time. He's a man. But moving on from that, so if you have Amazon Prime, I just finished this show called Hunters, and it is fucking dope. It's got Al Pacino in it. I highly suggest you watch it if you're into binging shit. It's only one season, 10 episodes. Basically, the premise of it is that Al Pacino was in. So the show takes place in the 70s, and Pacino and some of his friends were actually in the Holocaust. They're Jewish, and they have these particular people, these Nazis, that kind of tormented them while they were in these camps. Then they got liberated. So now it's the 70s. And he's got a bunch of money. Well, he finds out that there's Nazis living in America. He's doing all this research. He's got all this money. He's finding where these people were that tormented him and his friends. And he makes this group. and they go and they hunt, and they kill these fucking Nazis. And the last episode, huge plot twist. It'll blow your fucking mind. I'm like seeing it start to happen, and I'm like, dude, is this about to be what I think? No shit, no way, man. It was fucking crazy. That's a good show there. Hunters on Prime. Check that shit out. But that's all I got for today. I'm going to sign off here. I will get another episode up soon. Got these students going on spring break, so it's been pretty boring around here. So I got lots of time to do this, and this shit's fun as fuck. I hope you all enjoy it. Peace.